This is JSteele's Algebra 2. It's a continuation on the Chapter 10 review. The next couple examples we're going to graph and then write equations. So, first example, graph x minus 5 quantity squared over 4 minus y plus 2 quantity squared over 9 equals 1. Notice this minus sign, that tells us that we have a hyperbola. For hyperbolas, the a squared and the b squared term are always in the same spot. So we know that a squared equals 4. That tells us that a equals 2 and b squared equals 9. So b equals 3. We also know our hk values right away. H always corresponds with x and k always corresponds with y. So we know that the center will be at 5, -2. Since our x term comes first, we know that we're going to have a horizontal hyperbola. So the one last thing we're missing is the c value. So we can use the c value by using the equation c squared equals a squared plus b squared. Biggest thing there, the plus, the sign change. So going ahead and filling in our values, we're going to have c squared equals 4 plus 9. 4 plus 9 is 13. So c squared equals 13. So then solving for c, we just need to take the square root of that. So the square root of 13 is equal to about 3.6. So now we know that we can tell our vertices right away. Our vertices will be that plus or minus the 2 value, but in the x spot, in correspondence with the center. So we have to take our center and add 2 and subtract 2 from the x spot. So 5 plus 2 would give us 7, -2. And 5 minus 2 would give us 3, -2. And we also know our foci, our focus points, that's the plus or minus c in the x spot. So if we take our center and add 3.6 to the x spot, we're going to end up with 8.6, -2. And if we subtract 3.6, we're left with 1.4, -2. So going ahead and plotting the foci right away at, I guess my graph's a little too small here, but we're gonna have a vertice at 7, -2, and at 3, -2, and we're going to have our 2 focus points are at 8.6, -2, and 1.4, -2. So right about there. Anytime we have a hyperbola, we're going to go ahead and draw that box in. So that box, since we have a b value of 3, we're going to start with our focus points and go up 3. So 1, 2, 3. Over to our other focus point, and then down 3 as well. So from here, we can go ahead and draw in our asymptotes. And then last but not least, we can finally draw our hyperbolas. Okay, so that's how you graph hyperbola. Looking at the next example, we're going to be graphing an ellipse. We know that our ellipses are either vertical or horizontal based off of which denominator is bigger. Since the denominator under the x term is bigger, we know we're going to have a horizontal ellipse. So we know that a squared equals 16, so a equals 4, and that means b squared must equal 9, so b equals 3. From this, we know our vertices. We're going to end up being able to find out our vertices and co-vertices, but it is in correspondence to the center. So we're also going to need to know the center. Our center is our HK. So our center here is going to be -1, +2. So we're going, for our vertices, we're going to go ahead and take that ±4, add it to the x spot of our center. So -1 + 4 is 3, so we're going to have 3, 2, and then -1 - 4 is -5, so we're going to have another vertex of -5, -2. I'm going to go ahead and plot those points right away. So 3, 2, and -5, 2. And our co-vertices, we're going to be taking that ±3, adding it to the y spot. So we're going to have -1, 3 plus, or I'm sorry, 2 + 3 is 5. So we're going to have a co-vertice at -1, 5. And then 2 - 3 is -1. So we're going to have another co-vertice at -1, -1. So I'm going to go ahead and plot those 2 points. So at -1, 5, and at -1, -1. So right now, I can go ahead and draw in my ellipse. But there's one thing I'm missing, and that is my foci. So to find my foci, I need to find my c-squared term. So I'm going to use c² equals a² minus b². Again, that sign change. So c² equals 16 minus 9. So c² equals 7. To solve for c, we just need to take the square root of 7. So that means c is roughly 2.6. So we can tell our foci -1 plus 2.6 is just 0.6, 2. And then -1 minus 2.6 is -3.6, 2. So we can go ahead and plot those points as well. So 0.6 up 2 and -3.6 up 2. So this is how we graph ellipses. Now, last but not least, if we're asked to write an equation for a hyperbola with vertices 2, 4, and -6, 4, and then foci 4, 4, and -8, 4, we're going to start by drawing a picture. So if I have vertices at vertices at 2 up 4 and -6 up 4, and focus points at 4 up at 4, 4 and -8, 4. Label those with B's and F's so we can tell the difference. In our equation for a hyperbola, we need to know our h and k. So we need to know what the center is. So starting with our vertices, if we move 1, 2, 3, 4, we're right here, and if we move 1, 2, 3, 4, we're going to hit that center point. That center point is at -1, 4. So we know that h equals -1 and k equals 4. So right off the bat, we know our h and k values. Now all that's left is to find our a and b values. So we find our a values by looking at the distance between the center and the vertex. Since we counted 1, 2, 3, 4 units, we know that a equals 4. So that also tells us that a² equals 16. To find our b value, we might not know that right away, but we know that the distance from the center to the focus point is our c value. So since that distance is 6, we know c equals 6. So c² equals 36. So using our equation, c² equals a² plus b², we're going to have 36 equals 16 plus b², so then b² equals 20. We can stop here. looking at the graph of what we have, notice that if we were to draw a line across connecting all of those dots, that's a horizontal line. Since it's a horizontal line, that tells us that our x squared term is going to come first. So we're going to have x, our equation will be in the form x minus h quantity squared over a squared minus y minus k quantity squared over b squared equals 1. So now just filling in those values, we know that h equals -1. So x minus -1 is really becomes x plus 1 quantity squared. And we already know that a squared equals 16. So x quantity squared, or x plus 1 quantity squared over 16 minus y minus our k value, which is 4. So y minus 4 quantity squared divided by b squared, which we know b squared is 20, equals 1. So this is how you, given information, how we can write an equation of a hyperbola.